A flawless AI with perfect skin, cinematic lighting, and infinite knowledge. Sounds like everything people would want to follow, right? But no, because perfection is boring. And a boring entity will never build a movement. Today, we decode the full architecture behind AI influencer brand culture strategy, from founding mythology, shadow sides, and the Identity Codex to UGC loops. Transmedia storytelling and the 180-day blueprint. This is how a synthetic character becomes the center of a real digital religion.
Picture this for a second. You're scrolling through your feed on a Tuesday night, and you stumble across an influencer.
Right, like we all do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And not just, a run-of-the-mill creator, but someone with millions of fiercely loyal fans. Like, we're talking about a community built around this incredibly intricate backstory.
The lore.
Yes, the lore.
Yeah.
Layered inside jokes, thousands of pieces of fan art, and just this pulsating, thriving culture. People are, buying their merchandise, defending them in the comments, and waiting on the edge of their seats for the next post.
It's a real obsession.
It totally is. But here's the catch. That influencer, they don't actually exist.
Yeah.
They're entirely synthetic. Just a creation of artificial intelligence.
I mean, it sounds like a premise from a sci-fi novel, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually the reality of the digital landscape we're navigating right now. We're seeing synthetic personas generate very real human devotion.
And that is exactly our mission for today's deep dive.
Oh.
We're looking at a really fascinating piece of research from the AI Creator World team, which was published in early 2026.
Right, the AI influencer brand culture strategy piece.
Exactly. We're going to uncover how the architects behind these digital personalities are, moving way past just typing prompts into an image generator to get a pretty picture.
Yeah, that's old news.
Right. They're actually engineering massive self-sustaining cultural movements.
And we really need to frame why this pivot from just generating images to building culture, why that matters so much.
And why is it such a big deal?
Well, if you're a creator or a brand, or honestly just someone observing how the internet operates today, you know that algorithms change like the wind.
Oh, completely.
Platforms rise and platforms die. And because of that, reach, which is, just how many eyeballs happen to see a post, that's a very fragile metric.
Right. You could have a huge audience one day.
And zero the next. You might have 1 million followers today and reach none of them tomorrow because the algorithm decided to prioritize a different type of video.
It's terrifying for creators.
It is. But culture, that shared identity, the inside jokes, that deep emotional investment we talked about, well, I mean, that is algorithm proof. When people care about the lore, they will follow a character to literally any platform.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we figure out how to build an AI fandom, we have to understand the core difference between just broadcasting content and actually cultivating a culture.
Yeah.
It's a completely different mindset, right?
It really is. I mean, think about a standard content strategy. That's simply figuring out what to post and when to post it to, optimize your reach.
Right, playing the algorithm game.
Exactly. In that model, the creator or the AI persona is the sole source of value. It's basically a one-way street of entertainment.
You post, they consume.
Right. But a brand culture strategy flips that entirely. It defines what a community actually believes in. It optimizes for identity and belonging.
Yeah.
And suddenly, the community itself becomes a co-equal source of value.
Let me use an analogy here. It's kind of like throwing a party.
Okay, I like that.
So a traditional content strategy is like printing out 1,000 flyers, dropping them out of a helicopter, and just, praying people show up to the venue.
Hoping for the best.
Yeah. But a brand culture strategy is focused on what happens once they actually walk through the door.
Right, the experience.
Exactly. It's giving them a reason to stay. Playing the right music, introducing them to each other so that eventually they're the ones mingling, having a blast, and here's the kicker offering to help you host the next party.
That's perfect. They take ownership of the vibe.
They really do.
And I love that party analogy because when you achieve that vibe digitally, you trigger what the research calls an exponential fandom dynamic.
Exponential fandom. Okay.
Yeah. When an audience member adopts a brand's identity as part of their own self-expression, they transform. They go from being like a passive consumer sitting on the couch,
To what?
to an active distribution node.
An active distribution node. I mean, that sounds a little clinical. But really, it's just basic human nature playing out online, isn't it?
Precisely. It's about social trust. These fans start recruiting within their own social graphs, meaning they share the culture with their friends.
Oh, right. Because we trust our friends.
Exactly. Personal recommendation is the highest trust channel available in human communication. You're going to trust your best friend's recommendation infinitely more than some sponsored post shoved into your feed.
Totally.
And because fandom identity is self-reinforcing, the more people who join the club, the higher the perceived social value of being in it.
Which means we can actually measure this stuff, right? Like way before a character goes mainstream, you start seeing those early signals.
Oh, definitely.
Suddenly, there's unsolicited fan art popping up. People start using specific phrases or like slang coined by the AI brand in their own daily group chats.
Yeah, that's a huge indicator.
You see community-generated nicknames for the persona. And instead of just passively liking a post, fans start tagging specific friends in the comments, essentially saying, this is so us.
Exactly. They're utilizing the AI's culture to communicate with their own friends. That is the turning point where you know the strategy is really taking hold.
So let's get into the actual mechanics. How do you spark that level of, intense obsession for a synthetic persona?
Right.
If we go back to the party analogy, who is hosting this thing, and why should we care about a bunch of pixels?
Well, it all starts with engineering the who. Every enduring cultural phenomenon has a founding mythology.
Sure.
But for an AI, you're starting with a completely blank canvas, which is honestly an incredible strategic advantage.
Because you can control everything.
Everything. You have to build the backstory using 4 archetypal elements.
Okay, I'm going to guess one of them has to be an origin story, right?
Yeah.
Like Peter Parker getting bitten by the spider. You need to know where they came from.
Yes, exactly. The origin condition is the foundation. Like, where did they come from and why do they exist in this digital space?
Okay, what's the second?
The second element is the defining tension. This is the contradiction or, the core challenge that drives them every day.
So they need a struggle.
Right. The third is their mission or aspiration, like what are they actually trying to achieve? And the fourth element is their shadow side.
Shadow side.
Yeah, their vulnerabilities or complexities.
Wait, I had to push back on that last one. AI, by definition, represents digital perfection, right? It can generate flawless skin, perfect cinematic lighting, infinite knowledge on literally any subject.
Sure.
So why on earth would you intentionally introduce struggle and vulnerability to a perfect machine?
Because perfection is incredibly boring.
Okay, fair point.
Think about the psychology of empathy. We don't connect with people because they're flawless.
No, not at all.
We connect with them because of how they handle their flaws. Vulnerability subverts our expectation of digital perfection and creates real narrative stakes.
Oh, I see.
If the AI just succeeds at everything it attempts, there's absolutely no reason to tune in tomorrow. But if it struggles with its identity or makes a public mistake or faces a contradiction...
Suddenly it feels deeply human.
Exactly. We can relate to it.
That makes total sense. We're rooting for them to overcome something.
And you deploy those stakes over time through deliberate storytelling arcs.
You don't just dump it all at once?
No. You don't just dump a 5-page backstory in their first Instagram caption. You use seasonal cycles and world building. You drip feed the lore.
Right.
That rewards the followers who have been there from the start. Like a fan who has been paying attention for 6 months is going to see a hidden layer of meaning in a post that a brand new follower just completely misses.
It's the ultimate flex for a fan to say, I was there before they blew up, and I know what that symbol in the background means. It creates this thick cohesion among the insiders. But obviously, narrative is only half the battle. People are scrolling at the speed of light. So you also need what the report calls a visual and verbal identity codex.
The codex is crucial. It operates on the 1-second rule.
The 1-second rule.
Yeah. Fans need to recognize the content within a single second before they even read the handle, before the video plays 2 full frames.
So it has to be instant.
Right. It requires a signature aesthetic, maybe a hyper-specific color palette, a recurring compositional style, or even just a signature pose.
Kind of like seeing the Nike swoosh or the Disney mouse ears. It's so recognizable you don't even need the name attached to it.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is the underlying philosophy behind those visual choices. The rule isn't complexity, it's simplicity.
Oh, really? Not some crazy high-tech rendering.
No, because if your digital persona's branding requires expensive, professional 3D rendering software to recreate, you've locked your culture behind a paywall.
Ah, that makes sense.
But if your visual symbols are simple, you hand the keys of the culture over to the community. You allow them to recreate it on their own terms.
Right. You want them to be able to draw the fan art on a napkin. You want them to easily copy the signature pose on TikTok.
Yes.
By making it simple, you're basically operationalizing your identity into reproducible rules.
Precisely. You're giving them the tools to participate.
Which brings us to the engine of this whole operation. You have a compelling character, a distinct look, a deep lore. But a story doesn't become a culture until people actively do something with it.
Right.
So how do you actually trigger that participation?
You build ritual systems. Rituals are the recurring behaviors that act as, like, the heartbeat of any community.
Okay.
They reinforce the shared identity on a predictable schedule.
And there's a huge difference between a lazy ritual and a cultural one, right? Like, if an AI persona just announces, ask me anything on Fridays, nobody really cares.
Then it's generic.
Right. But if the persona names it something specific to their lore, let's say they call it the Friday glitch, and uses inside language to run it, it becomes a cultural event.
Absolutely.
It builds a vocabulary that only the insiders understand.
And that inside vocabulary plays a massive role in what we call the initiation experience.
Initiation, like joining a club.
Exactly. Put yourself in the shoes of a new fan for a second. You stumble into a Discord server for this AI character. You can't just be left wandering around the periphery feeling lost.
Yeah, that's intimidating.
It is. So the strategy requires a 3-step entry. First, a clear entry point, like a pinned orientation video that catches you up on the lore.
Okay.
Second, a low-barrier first participation opportunity. Maybe you just vote in a poll to pick your faction.
And then third is the community recognition mechanism, right? That psychological hook.
Yes.
Like, when that new person votes in the poll, the veterans in the server immediately welcome them. They feel seen. They're officially in.
Yeah. The psychological impact of being recognized by an established group is massive. It creates instant loyalty.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because once they're inside the house, you want to keep them engaged.
You do.
And that's where the Memetic strategy comes into play, the Memetic loop. Let's break down how this actually functions.
Sure. Think of a viral TikTok dance format.
Okay.
The creator provides a template, a specific sound and a few core moves. They put it out into the world. Then the community responds by making their own videos using that template, maybe adding their own spin.
Right.
The creator then highlights and amplifies the best fan versions.
And that amplification gives the fans social status within the community, which creates this feedback loop that motivates even more people to try the template next time.
Exactly. Notice how the creator's role fundamentally shifts here.
Yeah, they're not just broadcasting anymore.
Right. They go from being a director who dictates every piece of content to more of a curator. The ultimate goal is to build a user-generated content ecosystem where reproducing the brand's aesthetic becomes a form of genuine self-expression for the fan.
Wow. So they aren't just liking a post anymore. They're making a post because participating in this AI's universe says something fundamental about who they are.
Yes. And when that engine gets running, when you have thousands of people generating content, the culture simply can't be contained to one app.
No, it's going to spill everywhere. Which brings us to transmedia expansion. Scaling this universe brings incredible reach, but it also introduces, like, the chaos of losing control.
Oh, absolutely. Transmedia expansion requires fragmenting the story across different platforms, and you have to be highly strategic about it.
Because each platform serves a different purpose.
Exactly. Short-form video on TikTok or Reels, that serves as the discovery engine. It's about quick emotional resonance.
Yep.
Long-form content on YouTube provides the depth and complexity of the lore. Newsletters build one-on-one intimacy, and community platforms like Discord or Reddit are for the messy work of co-creation.
But the golden rule connecting all of these is narrative continuity. Like, if the AI persona is dealing with a severe shadow element or a personal crisis in a 20-minute YouTube video,
Right.
they can't be totally carefree doing a dance trend on Instagram on the exact same day.
Yeah.
Inconsistencies shatter the illusion.
Completely. Because the audience is treating the AI as a coherent, living entity. If the internal logic of the world breaks, the trust breaks.
Right.
And as this universe scales across platforms, you run headfirst into the tension of fan governance.
Oh, right, because if I've spent a year making fan art, You know, participating in the Friday glitch and recruiting my friends, I feel a sense of ownership.
Of course you do.
I feel like this character is partly mine. So how do creators manage that demand for influence without letting the fans completely derail the story?
Well, it requires a delicate balance between creator control and decentralization. You introduce evolving voting systems.
How does that work?
Early on, you give the community low-stakes choices, maybe voting on the color of the AI's jacket for the next video. It gives them a taste of control.
Okay, harmless enough.
But as the culture matures, the votes become high stakes. The community might actually decide how the persona responds to a major narrative crisis or a betrayal in the story.
Wow. And you manage that chaos by relying on ambassadors. And we need to be really clear here for a second. We aren't talking about paid influencers who got a check to promote a product.
No, not at all.
Ambassadors are genuine, diehard fans who have organically risen to the top of the community hierarchy.
Yeah.
The creator gives them early access and direct communication channels. They become cultural bridges.
Yeah, their influence is rooted entirely in their identity and their history within the community, not financial incentives.
That's a huge distinction.
It is. You're empowering the most invested members to help govern the space, which keeps the culture feeling authentic even as it scales to millions of people.
But speaking of financial incentives,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, all this world building, all this lore, all these rituals, it's a business.
Yes, it is.
The architects behind these AIs are building an enterprise. So how do you actually monetize a fiercely loyal, lore-obsessed fandom without breaking the illusion?
It's tricky.
Right, because if you're in the middle of a deep emotional sci-fi narrative arc and suddenly the AI drops a generic ad for a teeth whitening kit, the fans are going to absolutely revolt.
They will, and rightfully so, because you've betrayed the culture for a quick buck. That's why the framework relies on participatory monetization.
Participatory monetization.
Right. When you release merchandise, digital assets, or physical drops, they must be intrinsically tied to narrative milestones.
So put yourself in the mindset of a deeply invested fan. If the brand releases a physical artifact that perfectly encapsulates a massive turning point in the story, you don't see that as a commercial interruption.
Exactly.
You see it as a way to physically hold a piece of the universe. It's an expression of what the brand stands for.
It becomes an act of cultural participation rather than just a transaction.
That is so smart.
And even when it comes to outside brand partnerships, they have to be framed as cultural collaborators. The sponsoring brand has to logically fit within the rules of the AI's universe, maybe even playing a role in the story itself.
So if a creator is executing all of this, how do they know it's actually working before the revenue starts flowing in? We mentioned early signals, but what are the hard metrics of culture?
Well, follower count is virtually useless here.
Really?
Very much. The true metrics of culture require looking much deeper. You measure comment, depth like, are people writing thoughtful paragraphs, analyzing the latest plot twist, or just leaving fire emojis?
Right.
You measure user-generated content rates, how many original pieces of fan art or videos were created this week, and you look at cross-platform migration, meaning if they discover the AI on TikTok, do they care enough to click the link, leave the app, and go subscribe to a long-form newsletter?
Got it. Those are the numbers that prove you have a movement, not just a viral fluke.
Yes.
And to prove how actionable this all is, the research lays out a 180-day rollout blueprint. Now, rather than just speed reading a list, let's look at the psychology behind how these phases are paced, because you can't rush this.
No, pacing is everything. Days 1 through 30 are purely foundational.
Okay, month 1.
You are laying the concrete. You're establishing the origin mythology, finalizing that visual codex so it's instantly recognizable, and quietly launching the first weekly ritual. You aren't asking for anything yet.
Then, days 31 to 60 is the activation phase. The concrete is dry, so you invite the early adopters in. You introduce your first Memetic challenge, like that TikTok template we talked about, to get them participating.
Right, get the movie.
You start amplifying their content to build their social status, and you kick off the first real narrative arc to hook them.
And then by days 61 to 90, you move into reinforcement.
Okay, month 3.
The community is buzzing, so you identify those organic ambassadors and empower them. This is also when you test the infrastructure. You launch your first exclusive drop tied to the story, and you introduce your first voting mechanic to see how they handle governance.
And finally, days 91 to 180 is the expansion phase. Only now, after 3 whole months of solidifying the culture, do you push into new platforms.
Exactly.
You bring in a culturally aligned brand partner, and you audit how deeply the culture has permeated. I mean, it is a masterclass in patience.
It truly is an interconnected cultural architecture. The narrative depth gives the visual aesthetics meaning. The aesthetics give the rituals a visual language.
It builds on itself.
Yeah. The rituals give the community a shared, predictable experience. And that shared experience generates the fan content that brings in the next wave of followers.
It operates like a perfectly tuned engine. But as we look toward the future, the research touches on where this tech is heading. I mean, it's 2026, and the capabilities are accelerating.
They're accelerating rapidly. We're moving away from digital fandom as a fun novelty and towards systems that require robust infrastructure. The future is interactive story co-creation.
Okay.
The narrative environment itself is going to become responsive to the individual.
Responsive how? Like a massive multiplayer choose-your-own-adventure.
It goes deeper than that. The research points toward AI-driven narrative personalization.
Whoa!
Imagine a future where different fans receive uniquely tailored pieces of the story based on their specific engagement history.
So my story is different than yours.
Yeah. The AI dynamically generates a custom interaction or a personalized piece of lore just for you, but it's engineered so perfectly that your personalized slice still fits seamlessly into the shared canon of the whole community.
That is genuinely mind-bending. You get an intimate one-on-one experience with the character, but it perfectly connects to the massive shared universe everyone else is experiencing.
Right.
So what does this all mean? If we pull all the way back, building cultural gravity is the ultimate growth hack. It isn't about tricking a feed algorithm with the right hashtags.
No.
It's about designing a world so compelling and so rich with identity and ritual that your audience completely takes over the marketing for you. They become the distribution nodes. It makes the AI influencer entirely resilient to whatever random tweaks Silicon Valley decides to make to their platforms next week.
It's a brilliant feat of digital engineering. But it raises a deeply profound question and something I really want you to mull over after we wrap up today.
Oh, I'm ready.
Think about that AI influencer we imagined at the very beginning of this deep dive. The one with millions of fans, the perfect lore, the precisely calibrated moments of vulnerability.
Yeah.
If we are entering an era where artificial intelligence can flawlessly engineer and optimize all these archetypal elements of storytelling, if a machine can perfectly calculate exactly when to struggle and show vulnerability to create a maximum emotional bond with humans, what does that mean for human creators? Will human creators have to start acting more like perfectly engineered AIs just to compete for our attention? Or, in a world saturated with flawless, optimized synthetic personas, will our unengineered, messy, contradictory human reality become the ultimate luxury good?
We just walked through the complete architecture of AI influencer brand culture, from founding mythology all the way to participatory monetization. If you want the full written breakdown, the AI Creator World article is linked in the description. And if this episode shifted how you think about perfection and digital culture, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. See you next time.